As we all know, the Bundesliga over the last decade or two has been mostly dominated by two teams, Bayern Munich and then occasionally Borussia Dortmund. Obviously recently Bayer Leverkusen came into the mix, but in 2008 it was Wolfsburg who won the league title and won the Bundesliga for the first time in their history. Since then, the club has struggled a bit, particularly in recent years, with some mixed finishes in the table, and despite sitting 5th in the league this season, Wolfsburg fans will be dreaming of success much higher than that, and today I'm going to deliver that. That's right, today I'll be taking over as one of the biggest clubs in Germany with the aim of delivering them not just their second Bundesliga title, but hopefully some European success too. Now, the club has won trophies before, but only one Bundesliga, one Pokal and one Super Cup in their whole time, and as you can see, life as a Wolfsburg fan can be pretty mixed, with the club dipping and falling on a regular basis. But I'm going to try and change that, because with 5 years as Wolfsburg manager, I want to make them the biggest side in Germany, and thankfully there's some good players here already for us to work with. Club icon Maximilian Arnold has been around this team for a long time and is still one of our best. New signing Kamil Grabara has came in to replace long-standing Wolfsburg goalkeeper Castells this summer, and Danish international Jonas Wind has shown that he can hit the back of the net in Germany. Now granted, it's not Harry Kane, Kimmich and Musiala, but still, they are some decent players, and thankfully we've got some young players as well at the club that could develop into top talents. Belgian midfielder Astra Vranks has been tipped for stardom for a while, whilst 22-year-old Polish winger Jakub Kaminski is showing big promise, as is 23-year-old Austrian Patrick Wimmer, who could be a key player for us. So do we have the best team in the league? Obviously not, but it's not half bad, and the game agrees, because they've got us predicted to finish in 5th place with this current squad. With 33-1 odds, we're considered nowhere near as good as the top 4 that we're going to expect: Leipzig, Dortmund, Leverkusen and Bayern. Frankfurt considered on a similar level, but we're expected to be better than the rest of the pack, so the first aim will be European qualification. And it's not like we haven't got anything to work with here. There's £6 million a transfer budget, around 40k a wage budget, so we can definitely make something happen in this first transfer window, but only time will tell just how well we can do. And in this first transfer window, because Wolfsburg have already made quite a lot of signings and sales this summer already, I didn't want to rock the apple cart too much, so we didn't really go crazy in the market, but I still think we've improved. Let's start with the sales though, where we had plenty of goalkeeping options, so I moved on one of our worst ones in Palvo Parvan, who has gone to Hertha Berlin for a minimal fee of 10k. I've loaned out promising striker Bielek to Pogon, a team out in Poland, for some development this season. Young left-back Manuel Braun was taken off of our hands by Freiburg, a promising talent, but not someone I thought would really make it big, so he sold the 19-year-old for 500k. But perhaps the most unfortunate sale was this one. Radela Baku. I did a Wolfsburg save years ago on FM, and he was my main man. I think he's a brilliant player, but in this save, he had a year left on his deal, and he did not want to stay. He said he was refusing to sign a contract, so it was either lose him for free or sell him now. In came Leipzig. He said he'd be upset if he couldn't go, so not only do we strengthen a rival, but we lose one of our best players for £6 million. At least we got some money out of it, but it is a big loss. And with the money that we've made, we went out and signed one player that I think just adds a little bit to our team's level, and that is Eduardo Quaresma, a 22-year-old Portuguese defender who we have picked up from Sporting Club de Portugal. He's played in Germany before for a little bit for Hoffenheim during a loan deal, good with the ball at his feet, a nice tackler as well, and for the fee we got him for, I think it was a good deal. And not only am I trying to bring success to this Wolfsburg team, but I'm trying to bring some joy to the fans as well. We are going to be playing a pretty aggressive style of football. We're going for a 4-2-4 formation, which allows us 4 attackers, one of which is going to be more of a player that brings everyone else into play, and then a man alongside him to score the goals. There's only going to be 2 men in the centre of the pitch also, so they need to be really up on their game, but we're going to try it, we're going to be aggressive, we're going to be attacking, and hopefully score a bunch of goals. But this is what is currently considered our best team. Grabara you've already met. Joachim Mailer is now our best right back, with Baku leaving. If you remember, he was great in the Euros for Denmark a couple of years back. Sebastian Bernal, a Belgian international, 25 years of age, is supposedly our best defender, alongside Swiss defender Cedric Ziesga, but I imagine Quaresma might get some game time over him across the course of the season. Brazilian Rogerio is our best left-back option, and then in the midfield, it's Arnold, who we've already met, and then Ozcan on loan for the season from Borussia Dortmund. We then see Wimmer and Kaminski on the flanks, with Wind up top and Lucas Lemaitre as our other best forward. The issue with him, though, is he he's another one that has 1 year left on his deal, and he is refusing to sign anything. We've agreed to sell him if the money comes in, but it did not, so he's going to give us 1 season, and then unless we can convince him, I assume we're going to lose him. And now that we've made those transfers, our season preview has actually gone down. We've still got the same odds of winning the title, but Frankfurt have supposedly just jumped in front of us. I'm not really going to be too bothered by that just yet, though. I do not think it's the end of the world. The board is looking for a Conference League finish, so I imagine 6th or 7th should be more than good enough in Season 1. I'm also going to be trying to upgrade the facilities during our time here and making this club a stable contender for the league title. But let's get this first season out of the way, and then we can really build on this team with our own transfers and start making this Wolfsburg side our own. And sorry, Wolfsburg fans, I'm gonna just come clean. I said that I was gonna try and take away from the days of mixed performances and mixed league positions, but it's been a mixed year. Let's start with the DFB Pokal, the German Cup, where we had actually managed to make it all the way to the quarter-final, facing off against Frankfurt, who managed to beat us 3-1. And in the league, it was just hard to find any real consistency. We got some great results like beating Borussia Dortmund at home stadium 3-1, and we managed to put 7 goals past Borussia Mönchengladbach, but we also lost 5-0 to Heidenheim and 4-0 against Stuttgart. So yeah, to put it simply, it was a mixed bag, but thankfully we did get a good league position. In fact, we finished in 6th place, which was exactly where we were predicted to finish at the start of the season, with 51 points and a Conference League spot, which is what the board wanted as the minimum expectation, so we are off the hook in Season 1. 51 points was only 1 less point than Borussia Dortmund, but it is still over 30 points away from league winners Bayern Munich, and Leipzig, Freiburg and Leverkusen were also miles away from us. But even in seasons where nothing amazing happens, we still learn a lot, like this year where we found out that Jonas Wind is definitely a player that we can rely upon long term with 16 goals, and also that we're going to need to replace Lucas Nmecha, who is still not wanting to sign a new deal, even though he was our highest scorer this season. We also got 6 goals from Matthias Vanberg in the midfield, and also 6 from Bernau, and even 8 from Loni Mohamed Amora. So while this is all good, a lot of these players that we were relying upon here for our output maybe won't be here come the next window. I mean, Amora might not stay on permanent, Nmecha looks like he might be leaving, and that's why this transfer budget of 55 million is going to be absolutely vital. And this is where the rebuild really gets started. It's where we have our fun. It's time to start making this Wolfsburg team our own. And already we are off to a flyer in this rebuild, a massive transfer window starting, lots of big sales, lots of big incomings, nearly £100 million worth of transfers. But before I show you that, the only way you're allowed to see it is if you go down, you hit that like button for me. In all seriousness though, it takes a second to do, it really does help me out, it's completely free, you can click it and forget you've ever done it. So if you could do that, that would be amazing. Make sure you get involved in the comments down below, it's always great to interact with you guys. Any questions or rebuilds that you want to see in the future, let me know down there. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as we make that push for 50k subs. So thank you to everyone for that. Let's go and check out the players that we bought in, and firstly, who went. Firstly, a couple of loans to quickly talk about. Kevin Paredes, the 22-year-old American, has gone on loan to Houston. Cerny spent last year at Rangers but has now been loaned out to AZ Alkmaar. And defender Moritz Jens has gone out on loan to Lille for the season. Leaving permanently was young 19-year-old Bennett Broger for a small fee of around 100k. And then we get into the more serious sales. Yannick Gerhardt has been at Wolfsburg for a number of years, and I would have been happy to keep him here until he retired, but he said he wanted a new move, and you can kind of understand it after only 5 appearances last season, so he's moved on for 675k. Cedric Zisiga, who we mentioned last season, our Swiss centre-back, has left to go and join Feyenoord for 1.3 mil. It's really nothing compared to what the club paid for him, but he wasn't someone that I wanted to rely upon long term. I feel like we have better options, and also his name was pretty hard to pronounce, so I'm not too upset that he's gone. We've also lost Rogério in this window after Premier League side Crystal Palace swooped in for him. They offered £8 million for the man that signed for just over £5 million. Had a good year for his last time, but unfortunately he's gone. It's going to rise to maybe £10 million though, so it's not the worst deal. Astroranks didn't get much game time last season, so he's gone out on loan to Anderlecht to hopefully develop a little bit and then come back as a regular starter. But the big sale taken out of my hands, Jonas Wind, one of our best players last year, has left. He scored most of our goals. The only other player that scored a bunch was Nemecha, who has left as well at the end of his contract for free. Wind, though, we did get a good fee for. We were planning to keep him. In came Al Ittihad, offered him 700 grand a week. Of course, he wanted to leave for that value, but he was a brilliant player, and we are getting 35 million, rising to 41, which isn't a bad fee at all. So we'll take it. We'll try and move on, but it is a huge loss. But thankfully, we went out and bunched a board of new stars to fill up this Wolfsburg team. But if you want to get involved in this rebuild and continue it yourself, either from season 1 all the way through to season 5, continue it after we're done, then you can get the rebuild files over on my Patreon, linked in the description over there. It is a great place to support me, and I appreciate every single one of the Patreons that's on there already. But alongside the access to the rebuild files, you also get access to the videos a day early with no adverts also, so you can watch it over on Patreon before it's out on YouTube. All of these rebuilds we do are voted by people over on the Patreon as well, so if you want to get your suggestions in, then you can head over there where we do prioritize the suggestions from Patreon members. We do giveaways on top of that, so if any of that sounds interesting or you just want to support me, it'll mean a lot for anyone that does go and check that Patreon out. But let's go and check out our signings. Firstly, a brilliant deal on a free in my opinion. To replace Rogério, we have picked up Nuno Tavares, the 25-year-old Portuguese left back formerly of Arsenal, of Marseille and of Lazio. Now he's coming over to Germany to play for Wolfsburg, and I think he's going to be a big player for us. We've got a little bit of a bargain at centre-back as well. Manu Silva, a 24-year-old Portuguese defender. He's signed for 3.5 million from VTSC out in Portugal. I think he's going to be a brilliant option. Good with the ball at his feet, great defensively, 6'2", and hopefully ready to play at a Bundesliga level. But these three are the ones I think can really take us to the next gear. Firstly, Zakaria Aboukalal has signed, a 25-year-old Moroccan international. He has joined us from Toulouse out in France for a fee of 9 million. He was good over there, formerly of PSV and AZ Alkmaar. I feel like he could be a great option on the wing, but also can play up front if we need him. We then got the bargain of the century on Samuel Moroidian, who is of course tearing it up for Porto in real life, but in game he moved to Porto and it never really worked out for him. He barely played, he was on the transfer list, and I was not going to reject the chance of signing him. So in goes a £30 million bid. He has joined us, and at age 21 he could be a big thing out here in Germany. But my biggest signing is Ruben van Bommel, the left winger who can cut in on his right foot, son of a former great football player as well. Hopefully he's inherited some of his attributes. He already looks like a great player at 20 years of age, and we'd hope so as well, because we have spent £17 million on him from AZ Alkmaar. I see the vision, I see the potential. He could be a main man for years to come for us. And with those signings made, you can already see this team is starting to turn into our own. There's some big changes from what we initially inherited. It's still Grabara, Myla, Bornau at the back, but they're now alongside Tavares and supposedly Jens, who we have loaned out, so it's likely going to be Manu Silva, who you can see is a better defender anyway, so he is likely going to play more. Arnold and Vranks is our best midfield, but that's likely going to be Svanberg this season, whilst Wimmer and Kaminski flank a new forward line of Omoroidian and supposedly a Buklal as well, who I thought was probably going to be our best right winger, but it doesn't look like it. He might be a striker option this season. But clearly the game doesn't like the business we've done. We have lost some key men, and for that reason it now predicts us a 9th place finish, 50-1 odds of winning the title. It's the same as Frankfurt, Freiburg, Mönchengladbach and Stuttgart, so it's not the end of the world. But with a lot of change this season, both on the transfer front and the fact we'll be playing European football, we now really need to step up and give it a good crack in Season 2. And Season 2, in my opinion, does feel like a big step back from the club, and in fact, at points this year, our job was on the line. In the Pokal, we got knocked out early in the 3rd round, but thankfully, in the Conference League, we were doing okay. And with the club having no European trophies in the past, this was our first chance really to deliver some glory, where we might actually be able to win it. We went up against Rapid Vienna in the round of 16 and knocked them out, which took us to a quarter-final clash against one of the best sides in the competition in RC Lens. It was 0-0 in the home leg, and away from home in the 24th minute we made it 1-0, but our hearts were broken late on. With 88 minutes on the clock and a semi-final on the horizon, Papi Mendy hit a brilliant shot and took us to penalties, where every team scored until Franjic stepped up in sudden death and missed. And with that, we were out of the Conference League, and to be honest, that was the only real thing we could have shouted home about this year. Because in the league, despite having a similar amount of points as last year, it wasn't enough to get us European football. In fact, we were 8 points away from Freiburg, who finished in 6th, which this year was the Conference League spot. No European place for the 7th place finisher this season, which was really unfortunate. It's nice to see that someone can go out and beat Bayern Munich in this FM world though, but still, we are a long way off winning that title. There are some positives to take though. I mean, Ruben van Bommel had a brilliant first year, coming in and scoring 16 goals and developing very nicely on that left flank. Maxi Arnold, as always, was brilliant, and Pokal managed to score 23 goals from us, so clearly he must have been playing in that striker position. He did a great job, whilst Omeroidian managed to bag 9. There was 12 from Bialek, who went out on loan last season and has came back a much better forward, and we also saw 11 chipped in by Patrick Wimmer. So there is goals all across the pitch. It's not like we're relying on one man, but I still feel like there's just not enough going on here, maybe defensively. I also would like to see more goals from that forward line. 9 from Omeroidian, probably not as many as we might have wanted to see, even if it is a respectable first season. So I think we are going to need still a lot of transfers, and thank God we've still been given a good budget for it. 55 million, 100 grand the wage budget. The board have accepted that we're not in European competition. They're allowing me another crack at the cherry, so fingers crossed this year we can have a better season. But first, we're going to need some big signings. And once again, we've had another year where we've sold more players than we've actually spent, but I actually think this season we have massively improved our side. Leaving first was a Greek defender by the name of Kostas, a 22-year-old who we've sold to Vitesse Arnhem for a fee of 190k. He just wasn't playing for us and wanted out, so we've let him go. Nicolas Koza is also out the door. The French 27-year-old defender could play left back or centre back, was on loan in season 1, came back to us for the second year, didn't really play, so he wanted to go. Thankfully, we did get a 500k big from Saint Etienne and we were able to sell him. There's a sad end as well for Thiago Thomas, who I haven't spoke about yet, but he was a promising striker at the club who I was hoping could do something for us, but he just never really got off the mark, particularly when we were looking for a striker in this team to start scoring goals. He never really stepped up, so we've moved him on for a minimal fee to Schalke. Czerny has left permanently. The Czech Republic international has now signed for Feyenoord. He was out on loan at AZ Alkmaar last season and did well enough to attract the attention of the big boys of the Netherlands, and they've paid 1.3 million for his signature. Franjic missed that penalty for us in the Conference League, and we have decided to now sell him permanently. He's gone to Saudi Arabia for a fee of 2.7 million. He spent the first year out on loan at Shakhtar Donetsk in Ukraine, came back to us and played a fair bit off the bench, but wanted to be a regular starter, so off he goes. Moritz Jens, who was out on loan last season at Lille, has now signed permanently for a Saudi club in Al Fayha. He is left for a fee of 3.7 million. We got a decent fee for his loan as well, so it really wasn't a terrible deal to sign him for 6 a couple of years ago, but he never really did anything for Wolfsburg. Bartosz Bialek was good for us last season in front of goal, but he wanted to be an important player at a club, and we couldn't really give him that with the players that we had, so he's decided to leave to Stuttgart, where we've got a fee of 6.25 million, rising to 8.5. As you can see, scored a few times for us last year, but I don't think was ever going to be the main man, so if he wanted to do that, he had to leave, and good luck to him. And then a real sad sale, Patrick Wimmer, who's been one of our better players in this rebuild, had a year left on his contract and was refusing outright to sign because of the interest from bigger clubs. That bigger club was Fulham, which is where he's ended up for a fee of 6.5 million, nowhere near what we could have got for him a couple of years ago, but because his contract was so low, we have unfortunately lost him. Off to Fulham he goes, and we needed to replace a lot of these players, and it was bargain city this season because our scouts had found some great deals on the market. The first one is Maximilian Bayer, formerly of Hoffenheim, then Hanover, and then Borussia Dortmund, where he now is in real life. He did not play there, so we managed to sign him for 3.7 million. A bargain deal on the transfer list for a very pacey striking option who's got the potential to get better, 23, and I think he could be a real gem for that price. We spent just over 6 million on Russian winger Sergei Pinyeyev. We've picked him up from Lokomotiv Moscow out in Russia, where he's been doing so well. Our scouts were absolutely raving about him, so I thought, you know what, we've got to bring him in. Ability, potential, exactly what we want in this Wolfsburg side. We bolstered bolstered our defence with a new centre-back. Coming in from the Belgian leagues is Jose Marsa, who signs for 7.5 million, formerly of Barca and Sporting Club de Portugal. He is a very good option, a left-footed, ball-playing defender, maybe not the most physical in the world, but still a lot going for him. Can play DM2 if we really need it, but right now, I think he's going to be one of our best centre-backs. We've also offered some competition for Grabara in goal. Dennis Simon was available in the net, so I thought I've got to pick him up. He joins from Stuttgart for 8 million quid and will be the future of our number one spot in a few years or so. And I got some competition at left back as well. Nathaniel Brown, a German 23-year-old, has signed for us. He can play pretty well in this wing back area, likes to go forward, and will be good cover for Nuno Tavares, signing from Frankfurt for just under 10 mil, where he's been doing pretty well. I'm hoping this one will work out well. And this year, with no European football, I'm hoping we can really go for it on the league front and hopefully in the Pokal as well. But this is what is now considered our best 11, 3 years in at Wolfsburg, and I must say, I don't often think I get rebuilds wrong, but so far, I'm actually not that happy with this team that we've put together. I feel like we could have done more with the budgets we've been given. I haven't spent all of it, mind you. I just don't want to overload this squad, which is already stacked with so many players. But we've got Grabara in goal, Myla, Silva, Marsa and Tavares as a backline that we have put together pretty much ourselves. Svanberg and Arnold are our best midfield. That might be something that we have to look at down the line, whilst Kaminsky, Van Bommel, Abukahal and Amoroidian make up our forward line. I want to be doing a little bit better than this, to be honest. I'm hoping this year this team can perform. If not, I might need to make even more wholesale changes to this team because I really need to be pushing on. This is season 3 now. We're still predicted 6th place, still 50-1 odds of winning the title. It's not looking great, but sometimes we can come out under the odds and perform. So let's see what we can do in season 3. And this season, I'm going to class as an improvement. I'm not going to lie to you and say we were amazing and won the Bundesliga, but it was definitely a better year than what we've had previously and gives me a bit more confidence that we're going in the right direction. Let's start with the DFB Pokal, the German Cup, where this time we made it our furthest yet to the semi-final where we faced off against Frankfurt. Thankfully this season we have had our best league finish yet, a 6th place spot which is the same as season 1 but with far more points. We managed to beat out Borussia Mönchengladbach and secure ourselves a Europa League finish. In fact, we were only 4 points away from Leverkusen, who were a Champions League side, and Leipzig once again won the title. But this is at least improvement. I'm not going to say it's amazing and we can be really happy with this, but it's at least something and shows we are going in the right direction, even if it is at a pretty slow rate. But this year we saw Amoroidian really step up to the mark. He scored 22 goals, we got 6 from Arnold, 7 from Bayer in his first year at the club. Meanwhile, Kaminsky and Abukahal had scored 23 between them. There was 7 as well from Van Bommel. Still not as many goals as we need to score to win this title, especially when we're conceding way more than most of those teams ahead of us. So there is still work to be done, but we are now going in to our 4th season with our biggest transfer budget yet. 72 million, a fair amount in the wages as well. At the same time, we have been upgrading the club's facilities, so I feel like this is the best position we've been in so far in this rebuild, and if we can just bring in a few star men in a few key positions, we could turn this team from European contenders to potentially a title charge. Well, we had a big budget in season 4 and we spent it. £75 million worth of transfers in, 85 million out. It's been a big window for the club, but I think this has been our best transfer window yet. Up first out the door was Marius Muller, who's been on number 3 for a couple of years now. He's been a decent goalkeeping option, but he wanted to go, and to Hertha Berlin he goes for 100 grand. Benzi Dade is a player that was kind of victim to the formation we played. He's a brilliant young player that I've seen develop massively in a few different saves, but in this world, it just wasn't to be. I mean, we don't play attacking midfielders. He wasn't good enough for centre mid. I tried to retrain him into a striker. It just didn't work for him, so he's been sold permanently to Mainz, where hopefully he can find his feet. Lovren Meyer has been a great player for the last few years for us over here at Wolfsburg, but now we've sold him back to the French leagues where we got him from for £4.4 million, where hopefully he'll have a good time. I mean, he was okay for us, not amazing, but a good squad player. Sebastian Bernal decided he wanted to move on for a new challenge, and that new challenge was apparently Saudi Arabia, where he goes to Al Fateh for £6.5 million. He wanted to leave, so we made sure that he left. Abu Kalal has also left the club. The Moroccan has been with us for a few years now, but is now left permanently to go and sign for West Ham. £8.5 million was the fee for him. Scored 11 goals in year 1 and 11 goals in year 2, so I don't think we're losing a crazy amount of output. Kamil Krabara has also now been displaced by Dennis Simon as our number 1, so when Al Shabab came in, he wanted to go, so off he does go. I mean, he played less last season than before, and this season I am planning to play Simon more, so I thought let's get rid of him. 8.75 million is not a bad fee. But the two big fees came in for two very important players for us. The first one is Joachim Mæhle, who's been great at right back for us for a number of years now, 3 brilliant seasons, and he moves on to Sporting Club de Portugal for 25 mil, rising to 28. And we've also seen Nuno Tavares depart. In came Leipzig, and they offered a big £28 million for him, which I think is a good fee for a player that hasn't exactly set the world alight since he's joined us. He's been good, but I felt like we could do better, so he took the money. But who did we bring in? Well, once again, we were very shrewd in the market, in my opinion. First, signing a new striker, Alvaro Rodriguez, a 23-year-old Uruguayan signing from Real Madrid for £1.9 million on the transfer list, and I think he is far better than that. As you can see, £1 million for that is a massive, massive bargain. Our new number 2 is, again, a bargain that I can't believe. I've had saves where I've paid £50 million for this man, Noah Otobulu, the goalkeeper of Freiburg, who have been doing so well. In this save, he was on the transfer list for £2 million, because last season, the managers decided not to play him, and that meant he was available, and we've got a brilliant backup now. We sign another Bundesliga player, signing Schalke's Mario Vuskovic at 25 years of age for only £5 million. He's been good in the German leagues, he's good with a ball at his feet, and I think he could be an unreal centre-back, age 25. Tavares is out, and a new left back comes in, Alexa Terzic, who's a 27-year-old Serbian international with great ability, who we signed from Salzburg out in Austria. £12 million is the fee for a man that's been brilliant in that division, but it'll be interesting to see if he can take the step up. And then we've got a brilliant signing for Wolfsburg, Amad Diallo. What a player he's going to be for us. I feel like this is the perfect place for him to show that he is a brilliant talent. He comes in for 17 million. Obviously, this world, Manchester United aren't using him the way Ruben Amorim is. Even though he has played and done well, he hasn't played enough, so he was on the transfer list, and 17 mil is a great deal. And finally, with Mæhle leaving, I needed a new right back, so we go for a fellow Danishman. It's 26-year-old Rasmus Cartersen, who is a very consistent player that we've managed to pick up from FC Cologne, where he's been playing regularly and playing very well. 28 million, it's our biggest signing of this window so far, but there wasn't many great right backs on the market, and I feel like he'll slot in very well. I am liking what we've been able to put together though so far. In goal, we've got two very competitive options in Simon and Noah Otobulu. At the back, it is now a completely new backline that we've put together. The midfield is still two players we initially inherited in Franks, who's got much better now, and Arnold, of course, who's coming towards the end of his Wolfsburg career. And then the front four is, again, all our own players. Diallo, Van Bommel, Omoroidian, and Rodriguez, with players like Bayer, Kaminski as well available to come on in those areas. There's a lot of great talent throughout this squad, and a player that I think I didn't actually mention in our transfers, I've bought this guy this window as well. I must have missed him when going through the list. Matteo Prati, who is designed to be the eventual Arnold replacement. I've signed him for only £8 million from Cagliari out in Italy, where he was great in Serie B for them last season, a brilliant passer, great defensively, and hopefully the heartbeat of our midfield going forward. But with these new signings that we have made, the game is now predicting us to finish in, drumroll, 5th place with our best odds yet. So clearly we're in the best position we have been yet with this Wolfsburg team, and we're going to need to be, because the board are expecting us to get a qualification for the Europa League. So they want 5th place or higher. We are in the Europa League for the first time this year. Hopefully we can give that a good go. But with our team now ready and only 2 seasons to go, this is where we really now need to start kicking on, mounting a title challenge, and maybe even we can win a Pokal on the way. And this year at Wolfsburg have had both the highest highs and the lowest lows, so let's start with the lows and get a little bit better. Firstly, the Pokal, a competition that we would have been aiming to win, and in the second round we faced off against Nurnberg. Vuskovic managed to score one from the spot, and then the set piece taking centre back helped us go 2-0 up, but Nurnberg were able to hit back. With 22 minutes on the clock, they came down our right hand side, found some space in the middle and managed to pull a goal back, and it was late on when we tried to play it out of defence that we made an error. They pounced on it and they were able to make it 2-2 with a very good finish. Into penalties we went, nobody missed until Svanberg stepped up and hit the post, and that meant we were out. So we were out of the Pokal in only the second round. If you don't know, the first round is basically against an amateur club every time, so the fact that we've gone out so early in our fourth season in a competition we were aiming to win was a terrible result and really got the season off to a bad start. But later on, we managed to redeem it. Because in Europa League, we did well enough to make a quarter in Newcastle. And we knew this was going to be a tough game. As we headed into the final, it was going to be a battle, and we managed to make it 1-0 early on for Alvaro Rodriguez's powerful header. But Newcastle have got so many great players in this save, and Isak is still one of them, and of course he was able to make it 1-1. And it was only 2 minutes later that Aronson picked up the ball, drove to the byline, pulled it back, and Son scored to make it 2-1. And we battled, but it was only in the 70th minute where we were able to get a goal back. Vuskovic with a brilliant header to equalise. So time was ticking on, penalties potentially looked like they were looming. We'd already lost the Pokal before on the final and we didn't want to do it again. We made it 3-2 through Rodriguez. And as the minutes ticked on and Newcastle tried to fight back, we managed to counter, found some space, Van Bommel into Svanberg, who scored the winner. And with that, we had just won a Europa League with Wolfsburg, their first ever win in the European competition, our first trophy with the club, and my first sign that we have actually done something well in this rebuild so far. The second sign was our league performance, where we managed to finish in 4th place. We got a Champions League spot through the league anyway, which was great. There's now 8 teams in the league getting European football. We finished on 62 points, 12 points off the total leaders in Leipzig, but that was a way bigger points total than before. We are improving, and with a young squad, if we keep this up, hopefully next year we can push a little bit higher. Finishing above Bayern was great, 19 wins in this season and 10 losses. If we can just cut out some of the goals we're conceding, this could be a team that could actually mount a title push. If we have a look this year, there was some top performers that we can thank for it. Maximilian Bayer kind of coming out of nowhere with 27 goals this season. Samuel Maroidian continue his goal scoring form. You can see more goals across the pitch. Vuskovic with 11, Rodriguez with 15, 14 from Kaminski as well, 11 from Ahmad. This is exactly what we want. And we've also managed to convince Maximilian Arnold to stay for our final season. So he might be old, he might be aging, but he's going to be around right till the very end. Whether he'll be starting anymore though is another question, when we've got £73 million to spend in our final season, plenty of wage budget, and as you can see, we've maxed out the training facilities and we're trying to improve everything else as we go. The club's reputation is also higher than it was before. The dev centre has plenty of good young talents in it. We've even made a Wolfsburg 2 squad, which did not exist originally, but now they do, and we are aiming in our final season to add another trophy. We'll be playing our first games in the Champions League. If we can win that, that would be amazing, but I'll take anything. But first, let's get some transfers in. And in this final window, I haven't rocked the boat too much, but I have signed 2 players that I think take us to a new stratosphere, a new level that we never reached before, and hopefully that's going to help us this season. Before you see them though, this is the last chance I can ask you, so if you could, smash the like button on the videos. If you are watching to this point and you're not yet subscribed or hitting that like button, please do, it really does help, and clearly you might be enjoying the content if you're this far in, so doing that would be a massive help to me. So thank you guys. Let's go and check out the signings and sales from season 5. Leaving first is Manu Silva. The Portuguese defender has left to join Al Riyadh. When he joined originally, he played a lot of games for us for only 4.2 million, but over the years played less and less. Vukovic took over last year, and now he's moved on for 10 mil to Saudi Arabia. And then we saw Svanberg move on as well, who's been a big part of this rebuild actually, that I might not have expected him to be, and he's been playing year upon year. Last season not so much, and decided he wanted a little bit more, so off he goes to Lyon for 7.5 mil, rising to 9 million, 29 years of age. He gets his final move and will enjoy his time out in France. Coming in though, for anyone that continues this save over on Patreon, I think you might have the midfielder of a generation here. Pirlo reborn potentially, Salvatore Vanzo, an Italian 19-year-old under 21 international who is just absolutely brilliant. He's got the vision of, you know, a 30-year-old midfielder. He's got really good mental attributes, decent physicals, and very good technicals as well. The potential to become really good for us, good with both feet. This man is a brilliant signing, especially when he only cost us 18 million from Belgian side Standard Liège, where he was amazing last year, 10 assists, 40 appearances. This man is going to be a key player for us. But a player that I think we've got an absolute bargain deal on is Pau Cubarsí of Barcelona, the young centre-back, 21 years of age, an under-21 Spanish international. We've got him on 30 grand a week. He's valued at 80 million. How much did we pay for him, you ask? Only 19 million quid. Granted, Barcelona haven't used him all that much in this save, so we've managed to get ourselves a bargain. He is going to be one of our best in the defence. And with our final season at Wolfsburg ahead of us, this is what is now considered our best 11. And there's some things that I'd really like to point out. Firstly, obviously this team has had many changes and it is a young squad, but it's great to see the 2 central midfielders are guys that we initially inherited. So clearly there is talent at Wolfsburg still, and there's a few other players from that original Wolfsburg team still in the ranks like Fischer and Kaminski, but I think we've got an unreal side here. Such a good team, plenty of options on the bench. It can change games as well. We haven't even spoken about Pineda that much, but he is a great winger that can come on and influence games. Kaminski, Cubarsí, Atabulu, Alan Rodriguez. We know this team is ready to go. We know this team can mount a title challenge. So this season, I want to see it happen. 18-1 odds of winning the title. It's not totally impossible, and I'm hoping this year could be our year. Now, Season 5 has been a crazy season here with Wolfsburg. It's everything you'd want a final season to be, so strap in, and we're going to start off with the first competition, and maybe the most underwhelming one. And that was the UEFA Super Cup, which we of course played Champions League winners Real Madrid in, who have won it 4 years on the bounce now, and they beat us 2-0, so congratulations to them. But let's go to the serious competitions. First, the DFB Pokal, where we were aiming to win the German Cup for only the 2nd time in the club's history, and we made it to a semi. Our opposition on the day was Borussia Dortmund, and it was great to see Arnold getting the goal to put us in front in 60 minutes. And to be honest, he was instrumental all season, but it was Pineda who managed to get across and get a ball into Van Bommel to make it 2, before late on when we were able to make it 3 through Samuel Mora Dion. To the final we went, and I was delighted to see the draw put us up against a Bundesliga 2 side called Karlsruhe. Now, I never really heard of them, but we went 1-0 up through Kaminski, and I won't lie to you, I think that Dortmund game was basically the final, because this for us was a walk in the park. We absolutely dominated, as you would expect, the easiest chance to win a trophy we'll ever have, and Kaminski made it 2, before late on when Alvaro Rodriguez found Maximilian Bayer, who powered home for 3. The second tier side though didn't go home empty-handed. They were able to get 1 goal back late on. A poor mistake from our goalkeeper left the goal wide open, but it did not matter. We had won the match and we were taking home a Pokal trophy. Now, would I have preferred us to beat Bayern Munich in the last minute? Maybe, but this was about as easy as it got for us. And with that, that was 1 trophy down. But of course this year, we were in the Champions League. And after a good league phase, we made it to the round of 16, beating Marseille and making a quarter-final clash against fellow German club Dortmund. And across 2 legs, we beat them 5-1. So into a Champions League semi-final with Wolfsburg, which is amazing to say, and it was Chelsea who were our opponents on the day. And in the home leg, we went 1-0 up through Amad Diallo, and we held on for the whole game until the 94th minute, when Moises Caicedo scored to get a draw at our stadium. So a match at Stamford Bridge lied between us and a final with Real Madrid, but unfortunately Enzo Fernandez was able to score after 20 minutes to put them in the lead, and in really unfortunate fashion, Jose Marsa accidentally put the ball into his own net to make it 2-1. That of course put Chelsea in a big lead, and whilst Arnold did score from the spot late on, it wasn't enough and we came crashing out in the semi-final. But what a brilliant effort it was from our Wolfsburg team, a semi-final of the UCL, a Pokal win, and one more. Because we secured a Bundesliga title. We won with 78 points, 3 points more than Bayern. Now, were we amazing, or were the last 3-time winners Leipzig terrible? Probably more the latter, because they finished nowhere near their normal points total, and it allowed us to run away with the league. Maximilian Bayer with 20 goals, the most goals in the league alongside Šeško, 6 losses all season, 3 draws, a great goal difference, and a brilliant performance from our Wolfsburg side to top off what has been a tough rebuild, but maybe one of my favourites yet, because I have always enjoyed managing Wolfsburg. I've done a rebuild with them years ago on the channel, so to now be able to rebuild them again and take them to some glory like that Bundesliga, a Europa League win, and a Pokal, I mean, it's been a real joy to do, and there's been some great players along the way. And in fact, it's these guys' performances that actually make this so enjoyable, because we got so many goals from 3 players that didn't necessarily come in outright and do amazing. I mean, they all took their time to really get to a high level, but look how many goals they got between them. I mean, we've got 14 from Alvaro Rodriguez, who he picked up for £1 million as well. I mean, we have done some great business in this rebuild. The team we put together, it's taken a while, it's been a big effort, but we've managed to make it work. A mix of old players and new players. I mean, Maximilian Arnold, he might be declining, but he was still absolutely vital for us. It looks like he might get one last contract out in Saudi Arabia. He is a legend of the club now. Hopefully, we can agree a new deal with him if you do continue this save over on Patreon. But we have absolutely smashed it here at Wolfsburg. We've added some new trophies. The club's got a better reputation, really good facilities too, and I personally think it's a crying shame that Arnold is only an icon of the club, and it's great to see Bayer, Van Bommel, and of course us becoming favoured personnel at the club. I still think there's work to do here at Wolfsburg. This is a team that I think could contend for the UCL, so if you're able to do that on Patreon, if you continue to save files and you do manage to do it, do let me know. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.